most of us have a cable that's only this long, don't we? Now you've got two options. One, is you get yourself a 5-meter cable, or you get yourself one of the modern pads that you can plug your MyHealth into, that has, you're able to put at Packard and other companies do them, where you have a beautiful touch screen, etc. Comes in a nice robust case. So that's another way to go, and you can literally hold it and bring it up to the animal. Because I've got a 17-inch laptop, I'm not going to do that, but I will need a volunteer. Fabulous, come on up. And what I'll need for the moment is I'm going to get you to press the scan button when it appears here. So now, something that's important because of the coats on an animal, it's not as conductive as your normal skin. So I want this MyHealth working as optimally as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to calibrate the electrodes. So I'm absolutely certain I'm getting the best amount of information through the electrodes. So I just go to the settings page and I calibrate it on the spot. And it just takes a moment. For those of you that haven't done that often, it's worth getting familiar with it, because you're going to be cleaning your electrodes quite regularly and needing to recalibrate. There we go, calibration's over with. So, what happens? There we go. About half an hour ago. The scan's now over. It wasn't that simple. Literally in those few seconds, Rosie has given us a body field. We've got that information. Now we're able to have a look here. Now I'll just call out what I'm seeing. It comes straight up on the ER page. Got two straight up in the head here, trigeminal, which is ER5, brain nerve, which is ER63. A couple of others in the body, which is the shoulder, duodenum, digestive, diaphragm. There's a few items there. The choose, trigeminal. Doesn't she? And I've got that right there. She's not disturbed at all. She's used to the idea of it being around her. Now I'm actually feeling for those field changes in the air around her. Because those of you that have done the off-body work, you'll find that you can actually feel where you can get a really good response. So right there is actually somewhere it's hanging, so like I said, it worked there. You notice she put her head back into that space. Pathway we go down is then round the cliff. It's not 25. So I'm just putting the electrodes straight down onto the coat. Now if the animal has a lot of perspiration, you might find that it might actually react locally to it. You might actually sense it. You often see muscles move and you see a little sensation. You'll find sticky patches, and there's one here. So it's actually, even though the coat is smooth, there's no difference in texture, the electrical circuits seem to be finding what we might refer to as an asymmetry. It's literally holding a bit more there. It feels a bit waxy. Draw it through. Now I'm following the pathway, but going left and right. Just trying to find it. There we go. It's wanting to hang there, so I'm just spending a little bit more time. Between here and here, there's a waxy point just here, and yet the coat's absolutely smooth. The device is actually hanging on it. You can feel it. So be aware when you're drawing it through the animal's coat, you will sense it. Little technique for you. You notice I've got my left hand on her because she can't lift this leg without me feeling it. Okay? So I'll know before she lifts it what she's going to do. If you ever had to, you can push yourself away. You actually feel yeah, we've just had a big sigh out of her. And if you notice her leg lifted and she went into like a relaxed state. Yeah. So she's actually going, yeah, I like this. Yeah. Now remember, all the way through the front here, there's very little flesh. It's very, very stiff. So you don't have to bang it, so to speak. You just run it through, and the information will literally be on the surface. You can feel it. Now, due to time, I'm not going to spend much more time on here. We've got a little bit of video showing you regards how to provide infoceuticals to the horse. There's many different ways. We've got a bit of video to show you exactly when we fed infoceuticals into race horses and all sorts of things. One of the things I have noticed with this horse, Rosie, a little more Rosie round, so I'm going to run this here. Let them know I'm here. So waxy on this side. This one's much smoother. This one is grabbing. So I know that that's pulling the pelvis across. It's literally going to change the way this animal works. Now it's a barrel. You run around barrels. This is going to affect the performance of this horse. And I can feel it's waxy on my fingertips. It's not wet, it's just sticky. So I might put this on muscle, for example, because it hasn't come up as a priority on the scan, but from a physical point of view, we know this is going to support the animal. So I've just put it straight onto muscle from a physical folder, and just going to give it a moment there, releasing it. Now, when you start working with horses, you'll start to see some of the structures, and you'll see how things end up relating. It's worth having a little look at the anatomy of the horses, and very quickly it's quite effective to have a look. That has changed already. That is so smooth. So what we were looking at wasn't the surface material, it was an asymmetry. And in your level 2 NES training, you looked at dermatomes, didn't you? And that's where the body, through the hide of the animal, is actually providing information pockets. And you'll feel it with the device, the sticky point. With an animal, if you run your hand down, you'll feel it. Well, thank you, Rosie, for feedback. What we'll do now is, we've got any questions? Okay. It was pretty straightforward, wasn't it? There's nothing frightening. I'm going to talk about approach of animals and how practitioners, how they feel about it when they approach them on some slides. We'll do that before we go for lunch. And I've got some bits and pieces that will help you maybe be a bit more confident with animals. Okay. What we'll do now is we'll go back in and we'll go see Forrest the dog. Now, can I leave this here so that when the other therapist comes out, we'll be able to look straight into it? On the stage. Now, outside, we just used the device directly, didn't we? We used it on body and off body, but there are other ways as well. Now, you guys have got access to carbon pads, which are very useful, and on a large animal you might put them straight up against the muscle and you might draw them around, and that way you've got your hands on the animal as well, and you can feel muscle movement. You can go up and down the spine of the animal, you could go either side. If you look at the anatomy of the horse, you could run it right underneath, you'll feel the muscles, and you've got a hands-on event. You put the device in the pocket, right? Now, I say that because very often you'll have the device in your hand, and if you're not really conscious of it, you may drop it, right? And the environment you're going to be in a field or things of this nature, sometimes that can be a bit confronting for the devices. In fact, Frank is working on a case, wherever it is, which is going to have a lanyard. So you'll be able to have it around your neck or something, and it'll be fairly waterproof, these indestructible things that you get for telephones. A bit more than just a carry case, something that's a bit more useful when you get in mucky environments, okay? No, I don't think it's quite as good as that. It won't survive a stepping on by a horse. But often having something a little bit like this, right? Now the guys have got these at the table, and I was talking to people today, teaching them how to use them for all sorts of human treatments, but they can be really helpful, because if you imagine, if I haven't got a top pocket, I normally have a top pocket, but straight away, if I set that up on an ER, for example, I can get straight in, and I can work and actually feel what's happening, and all those sticky points become evident. Now for a dog, I've started using things like this. So you can find electrodes like this. This is like a TENS-based electrode that has contacts through here, and we can apply all sorts of things. And you can dream these things up, and NES are working on developing a whole toolkit that will plug into a device. This is one I've had in the past for other devices. but we can just change the connectors and use them. Now, this dog is so relaxed, it's tremendous. Okay? So what I'll do, I'm actually going to give it something that it's probably not expecting. It's actually a bit more of a contact treatment. Now, because I'm putting an external electrode on, what am I going to do? I'm going to calibrate it. Great. So just press the button, calibrate it, and you guys can dream up all sorts of different types of electrodes. There are TENS-based pads, and once you start looking at TENS-style electrodes, you'll find thousands of things. Those of you who have been familiar with other modalities, there are eye goggles and all sorts of things that have been very effective in helping people. So it extends what you're doing with your device. Now, let's have a look here. We've got, let's have a look. So Emmerich did a scan. We can have a look and see. There's only 2 ERs. There's ER5, which is the cardiac muscles, and the coccyx. How's his tail? Cool. Well, does he wag it much?
Yeah.
Super.
It kind of has a kink in it.
Here we go. It has a kink in it. All right. Well, if you look how the spinal column extends into the coccyx, of course that's going to provide lateral pressure, isn't it? It's got a kink. It's not square. So let's try and support it by working from the sacrum through the back and then partly into the tail. So this is possibly what this is referring to. It's recognising that imbalance. And it's an ER9. So I'm literally going to choose ER9 through our ERs, and when you use any form of external electrode, you'll see a new symbol appear on your screen, and it looks like the socket and the pin going in. So it's telling you you're using an external electrode. It doesn't turn these inbuilt electrodes off though, so be conscious of that. It's now sharing the energy between this and those. Right, let's have a little fun.
So would you have to turn it up a little higher than for the external?
No, not necessarily. Don't be fearful about the amount of energy. The dog will tell you instantly if it thinks it's too much. I tend to start things at about 20 or so, and most of the time that's perfectly adequate because I'm not turning the energy up so the dog's conscious of it. I'm actually using that energy to reinforce the asymmetry, the sticky patches. You'll find with a little energy, you'll feel those asymmetries more. Okay? So let me have a sit down. So the dog's got to be comfortable. So I'll have to come down here. Hello, Forrest. How you doing?
Jumping up, sorry.
The Forrest is looking for support. That's good. Okay, so I'm having a feel here. I'm feeling for warmth, hot spots, any differential pressures. This side here is higher when he stands. There we go. There we go. Now I'm going to introduce this into him. Now, animals are used to having combs and things used on them, so they don't even know this is therapy. There we go. Now we're targeting the ER area, aren't we? There we go. There's a sticky patch right there. There you go. There we go, right there. Now you see his reaction. He just turned around and said, "What are you doing there?" That's where there's an asymmetry because I can feel it sticking in the coat. Just there. Perfect. Thank you for being such a good patient. This hopefully will help wag. Wag your tail there.
7. So you do it for about a minute, that's what I just said.
A minute or two. If this dog has had enough therapy, what's he going to do? He's going to tell you he's going to get up, he's going to go look for a drink, that sort of thing. The other reaction is that they literally climb into your lap and go, I've had enough, just curl up. There we go. Now it's just here. You notice every time I get to this point, he turns his head right round. Now he's just started the parasympathetic response. You notice he's yawning, he's really down low, his head's down, he's yawning again, right? So we know he's in a really good space, isn't he? So if you don't have a dog of your own or anything, just observe friends, dogs and pets and get a sense of their mood against behaviour, and then you'll be able to recognise when a dog is maybe agitated or paying attention, or when they're just like really chilled out. And that makes it much safer for you. What you don't want to do is totally ignore the dog and miss some of the signs when it's trying to tell you, I've had enough. There we go, just there. Now that asymmetry is actually really smoothed out. There we go. That's great. Thank you very much. Now, you could feed infoceuticals to this dog through its water, or if it has certain dry foods that it likes, you might have a small amount of that and then place the infoceutical in that and then make it part of its daily food intake. You might divide its meal up on something and give it a dedicated pocket of food that you put the infoceutical in. People ask about how many drops, etc. Well, in the horses we have been giving about 2 milliliters, okay, which is about 1/10 of a bottle, because they're much bigger animals, they respond tremendously well. But if you make the infoceutical too small a volume, it's actually very difficult to handle. So we've found a method that I'll show you on the video in a moment. Dogs where we provide dry foods and things or drops in the mouth, they seem to respond well with that. Other times people have been putting it physically on the animal. You can rub it behind the ears or back of the neck, anywhere where it sort of holds into the coat. And it's the same for treating children, for example. You don't often need to put it in the food and trying to trick them or something. You often can just put it in your hand as a parent, just run it down their back, and you'll find the infoceutical information will go straight in. So that can be really effective. It's very clear this dog is so beautifully behaved that you could have almost done anything to him. But you'll find dogs who are more guarded and things of this nature. You've got to be comfortable with the dog, and sometimes you might find you will set the device up, and with very little help, you'll find the owner, who's used to interacting with that dog, will pick the device up and go, okay, right, so you want me to go down the spine? You go, yeah, that's great, and they'll brush it down until the dog has maybe got over that problem with dealing with new people, because you get the information so quickly, don't you? On your scans, you have 2 settings within the software for sort of a long and short scan, okay? With the pets, I put everything on the short scan, it works beautifully, because in about 3 seconds, it's done. And there's no hanging on, concern whether it's going to still be there in 10 seconds, okay? Our apologies for having to do it so quickly, but we've ran over this morning. Have you got any questions? Anything that you're imagining? I believe that will be the case. I don't know if it's built into the animal software yet, but as with all of NES's softwares, as those developments occur, that becomes part of the base software that you get. So if it's not in right now, it will be uncertain in the future, because the intention is to be able to scan a herd of animals and things of this nature. So the remote scanning will be there on remote farms and things of this nature.
So then we're drops for dogs, like, because they're
Look,
dogs kind of like
severity, behaviour.
and you have cattle, and you kind of transfer the horse to the cow and experiment.
I would go down that line. I definitely look at it in that manner. There are differences, but for all intents and purposes, if you follow the distortion and provide based on that, you're going to get great results. In Michigan, they wanted to kill me. You wait until you see the video.